Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time there was a beautiful girl who lived in the woods and who everyone affectionately called Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother called her and asked her a favor. "I put a cake and a pot of honey in this basket. Take him to his grandmother, who has been ill. But Little Red, be careful. Don't stray from your path and don't talk to strangers." "Yes, mother, I will do as you say," promised Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood was walking along the path when, suddenly, she met the big bad wolf. He, in a very sweet voice, said to her, "Hello Little Red Riding Hood. Nice to meet you, finally." Little Red Riding Hood thought the big bad wolf was actually nice, contrary to what everyone said, even her mother. Even so, she answered him, "Sorry Mr. Lobo, but my mother forbade me from talking to people I don't know. But I am the wolf, the most popular of all the animals in the forest. There's no problem Little Red Riding Hood. Everyone knows me well. Where are you going with that basket?" "I'm going to see my grandmother and bring her a cake and a pot of honey." "Oh yes. And where does your grandmother live?" "She lives in a little house near the lake, next to a big tree." The wolf, already with his mouth watering, thought, I won't go hungry today." And he said to him, "Well Little Red Riding Hood, I enjoyed meeting you but now I'm moving on, see you soon." "Goodbye," replied Little Red Riding Hood, without even imagining what the wolf was planning. As the wolf was very smart and cunning, he took the shortcut to Grandma's house, in order to arrive before Little Red Riding Hood. When he got there, he knocked on the door of his grandmother's house. From inside the house, the grandmother replied, "Who is it?" And the wolf said, in a thin voice, "It's Little Red Riding Hood and I'm bringing you a cake and a pot of honey, Grandma." The grandmother, who was lying on the bed resting, replied, "You can come in, my dear, the door is open." The big bad wolf opened the door and, without making a sound, went to Grandma's room and ate her. Then he put on his clothes, put on his cap, put his grandmother's glasses on his nose, and lay down on the bed, covering himself very well with a blanket. After a few minutes, Little Red Riding Hood finally arrives at her grandmother's house. Seeing the door open, he entered and said, "Is anyone home? Grandma?" To which the wolf replied, "Come in, my dear granddaughter, I'm in the room." Then Little Red Riding Hood went to her grandmother's room. When he got there, he saw the big bad wolf, disguised as a grandmother, and thought it was her. Little Red Riding Hood approached the bed, but thought that Grandma looked different. Then he said, "Grandma, you have such big ears." And the disguised wolf replied, "They are to hear you better." And Little Red Riding Hood continued, "And you have such big eyes." To which the wolf replied, "They are to see you better." "Oh Grandma, you have such a big mouth. It's to eat you better," replied the wolf. And then he jumps out of bed to eat poor Little Red Riding Hood. But she managed to escape. The big bad wolf, who had already eaten his grandmother and had a full belly, didn't care and went to sleep. In the forest, Little Red Riding Hood found a hunter who was walking there, and asked him for help. The hunter ran to his grandmother's house and found the big bad wolf sleeping soundly. So, he approached and wham! He cut the big bad wolf's belly and took out the grandmother, who was still alive. When the wolf woke up, he saw the hunter and ran away, full of fear. Little Red Riding Hood hugged her grandmother and promised that she would never disobey her mother again. She, her grandmother and the hunter ate the cake and honey, happy that everything had ended well. The Three Little Pigs. The Three Little Pigs. Once upon a time, 3 little pigs lived happily and carefree in their mother's house. One day, the mother called the little pigs and said, "Dear children, you are already very grown up. It's time they had more responsibilities for this, it's good to live alone." The mother then prepared a hearty lunch for her children and divided her savings between the 3 of them so they could buy materials and build a house. The three little pigs then set off through the forest in search of a good place to build their house. However, along the way they began to disagree regarding the material they would use to build the new home. Each little pig wanted to use a different material. The first little pig, one of the lazy ones, immediately said, "I don't want to have too much work. You can build a good house with a pile of straw and still have money left over to buy other things." The wisest little pig warned, "A straw house is not safe at all." The other lazy pig, the middle brother, also gave his opinion. "I prefer a wooden house. It's more resistant and very practical. I want to have a lot of time to rest and play." "A house made entirely of wood isn't safe either," commented the oldest. "How are you going to protect yourself from the cold? And if a wolf appears, how will you protect yourself?" "I've never seen a wolf in these parts, and, if it gets cold, I light a fire to keep warm," replied the middle brother. "And you, what do you intend to do? Are you going to play with us after the house is built?" "Since everyone is going to build a house, I will make a brick house, which is resistant. Only when it's over will I be able to play," replied the oldest. "We are not going to face any danger to have the need to build a resistant house," said one of the lazy people. Each little pig chose a corner of the forest to build their respective houses. However, the houses would be close together. The little pig in the straw house bought the straw and in a few minutes built his house. He was already resting when the middle brother, who had built the wooden house, arrived calling him to come and see his house. It was still morning when the two little pigs went to the house of the oldest pig, who was building his home with bricks. "You're not done yet. It's not even halfway done. We are now going to have lunch and then play," said the middle pig ironically. The older piglet, however, paid no attention to the comments or the giggles. He continued to work, preparing the cement and assembling the brick walls. After 3 days of intense work, the brick house was ready, and it was beautiful. The days went by until a wolf realized that there were little pigs living in that part of the forest. The wolf felt his belly growl with hunger. All he thought about was eating the little pigs. He then went to knock on the door of the youngest pig, the one in the straw house. Before opening the door, the little pig looked out the window and, seeing the wolf, began to tremble with fear. The wolf knocked once more. "If you don't open it willingly, I will open it by force. I will blow very hard and your house will fly." The little pig was desperate, but continued to resist. Until the wolf blew once and nothing happened. He blew again and nothing remained of the straw in the little house. The house flew into the air. The desperate little pig ran towards his brother's wooden house. The wolf ran after. Arriving there, the middle brother was sitting on the porch of the little house. "Run, run, get into the house. The wolf is coming," shouted desperately the youngest piglet running. The two little pigs entered the house just in time. The wolf arrived right behind, knocking loudly on the door. The little pigs trembled with fear. The wolf then knocked on the door saying, "Little pigs, let me come in just a little." "By no means, your wolf, go away and leave us alone," said the little pigs. "So I'll blow and I'll make the little house fly." The wolf, furious and hungry, filled his chest with air and blew hard on the wooden house, which could not hold and fell. The little pigs took advantage of the wolf's lack of breath and ran to their older brother's little house. When they got there, they asked him for help. "Come in, leave this wolf to me," said the older pig confidently. Soon the wolf arrived and tormented them again. Little pigs, let me in, it's just a little bit." "You can wait sitting down, you lying wolf," replied the oldest pig. "Since that's the case, get ready to run. This house will fly in just a few minutes." The wolf filled his lungs with air and blew into the little brick house, which suffered nothing. He blew harder again and nothing. He then decided to throw himself against the house in an attempt to knock it down, but nothing shook the solid house. Suddenly they heard a noise on the ceiling. The wolf had leaned against a ladder and was climbing onto the roof. The oldest pig immediately turned up the fire in the fireplace, in which they were cooking vegetable soup. The wolf threw himself into the chimney, intending to surprise the little pigs by entering through the fireplace. That's when he fell right into the cauldron of boiling soup. The wolf howled in pain, ran towards the door and was never seen in those lands again. The three little pigs therefore decided to live together from that day on. The youngest agreed that they needed to work in addition to resting and playing. Everyone lived happily and in harmony in the beautiful little brick house. The Wolf and the Seven Young Goats. The Wolf and the Seven Young Goats. Once upon a time there was an old goat who had 7 little kids and loved them. One day, wanting to go to the woods to prepare dinner, she called her 7 little children and said to them, "Dear little ones, I need to go to the woods. Be careful with the wolf. If he comes in here, he will catch you. That trickster usually disguises himself. You'll recognize him by his hoarse voice and black paws." The little goats replied, "You can go calmly, dear mother, we will be very attentive," and the old goat walked away confidently. Shortly afterwards, someone knocked on the door, shouting, "Open, dear little ones, your mother is here, she brought a gift for each of you." But the little goats realized, from the hoarse voice, that it was the wolf. "We're not going to open anything," they said. "It's not our mom. Mom has a soft voice, yours is hoarse, you're the wolf." So, the wolf went to the market, bought a large piece of clay, ate it and his voice became softer. Then he knocked on the door again, saying, "Open, dear little ones, your mother is here, she brought a gift for each of you." But he had rested his black paw on the window. The little ones saw the paw and shouted, "We didn't open it, our mother doesn't have black paws like you the wolf." The wolf then ran to the baker and said, "I hurt my foot, can you put some dough on it?" The baker helped. He ran to the miller and said, "Spread some wheat flour on my paw." The miller thought, "This wolf is trying to deceive someone, and I didn't want to help." The wolf, however, threatened him, "If you don't do it, I'll devour you." The miller then got scared and sprinkled his paw. The rascal went, for the 3rd time, to knock on the goat's door, saying, "Open, little ones, your dear mother came back from the woods and brought a gift for each of you." The little goats shouted, "Show us your paw first so we know if you're really our mommy." The wolf didn't hesitate, he placed his paw on the window, and, when they saw that it was white, they believed what he said and opened the door for him. But it was the wolf that entered. The little goats, frightened, tried to hide. The first one hid under the table. The second got under the bed. The third ran into the oven. The fourth went to the kitchen. The fifth locked himself in the closet. The sixth inside the sink. And the 7th in the wall clock case. But the wolf found them, ate all the food in the house and took all the kids in a cage. The last one, however, which was inside the watch case, was not discovered. Once satisfied with what he had achieved, the wolf left and ran into the forest, but he was so tired and so full that he lay down under a tree and ended up falling into a deep sleep. It wasn't long before the old goat came back from the woods. But what a scare he was. The door of the house was wide open, table, chairs, benches, everything upside down. The sink in pieces, the covers, the pillows ripped off the bed and all the food was gone. He immediately looked for his little children, unable to find them anywhere. He called out names one after another, but no one responded. When he finally called the smallest of all, a small voice shouted, "Dear mommy, I'm here, inside the watch box." She took him out and the little one said that the wolf had come and devoured all the food and taken the others. Imagine how much the goat cried for her little ones. She left the house in despair, not knowing what to do. The smaller goat followed her. Arriving at the forest, they saw the wolf stretched out under the tree, snoring in such a way that it made the branches shake. And next to him was a cage and little goats crying a lot. "Oh, my God," she sighed, "are my little children alive?" She sent the smaller goat to run home to get something to open the cage. With them in his possession, he opened the cage, and the little goats jumped out one by one, all 6, alive and perfectly healthy, as the monster had not devoured them yet. What joy they felt when they saw their mother. They hugged her, prancing around happily as ever. But the old goat said to them, "Let's lock the wolf in the cage before he wakes up." They arrested the wolf and quickly left. They returned to their home happy and bouncy because they got rid of the trickster wolf. After that, the rumor spread those hunters passed by, and even though they were suspicious of their luck, they were happy to find game and took the wolf with them. The mother goat and her kids lived happily and safely and never heard from the wolf again.